All right, people. All right, people. Sit. Take your seats, because we got another doozy on our hands today. I gotta tell you, last class we did Sabrina's bracket into Who You Got challenge, and we are doing horror sequels, best horror sequels, and Sabrina Ace is taking none other than Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, The Dream Warriors. And today we get to find out who the smooth effect himself is taking the spooky empire, and what's up for grabs. The winner faces yours truly, the longest reigning Who You Got champion, Mr. Malave, aka Matthew Malave, and I will be your proctor for this challenge and for this bracket breakdown. So first, I'm going to introduce the person who knows what movie is representing her at Spooky Empire, and it is Ace Sabrina. What's going on? How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I mean, I'm happy with the movie that I ultimately got for Spooky Empire, and I'm excited to see what is going up against it on Tommy's bracket. I'm excited to see Tommy's bracket, like just in full, and talk about all of his movies, and I'm here for it.
Oh yes, oh yes. So, well, you know what? You do have a nice doozy. You must be oozing of confidence right now, because Nightmare on Elm Street 3 is the best sequel in the franchise, as deemed by us, Night School Horror. So I'm excited for you, but I'm also excited for the Smooth Effects bracket, because he has some heavy hitters. So without further ado, let's talk to the man, the Smooth Effect himself, Tommy James. How you feeling, kid?
I'm getting pumped, man. I'm getting pumped up. It's like Rocket, man. I'm getting ready, getting excited because, I know I got a heavy hit. I'm going against Drago right now, so I got to get my ass out there and get ready to start. Hold on. Here we go. Got that shit going. All right, yeah, I'm ready. All right.
It's a lot of excitement there, kid, and I love it. You have to be excited for the Who You Got champion. For the Who You Got challenge, because it always is a doozy. All right.
We know this.
Yeah, man, and everyone knows what you're fighting for. If you see, we are on Zoom right now, so you can see the beautiful championship that I am bestowing upon my shoulders, which is not going to leave, to tell you the truth, regardless of who wins. Gotta be honest with you. You're talking about reeking of confidence. I am the longest reigning Who You Got champion, people. All right? I don't get that title for no reason. All right? But still in all, I welcome all challengers. So, if you guys are ready, I'm ready. Let's start this breakdown. What do you say?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right. So for those of you who haven't heard the last episode, you should stop this and go listen to it now. But for those of you who are just coming in, it's very simple. It's a nice bracket style. We have 8 different sequels from horror sequels randomized in this bracket. It's like NCAA style. And then we go head to head in matchups, and we talk about the movies, and we see which one's the better movie, and that one moves on, and we continue that until we have just one movie that represents Smooth Effect. Now, Smooth Effect is not allowed to vote in this conference unless it's a tie between Sabrina and I. And in that case, he controls his own destiny, but he also has some kind of power that he can use only in the first round, which is his override. So again, if he doesn't like the way the voting went, he can use his override and that other movie will go on. But again, it only is allowed in the first round, not in the second or third. So, do you all understand the rules? I know you do.
Yes.
Let's get ready to rumble. And in typical fashion, Tommy, you get to choose the first matchup.
All right. I think we're going to have to go and start strong, okay? We need to start with something that people are going to say, wow, this conference is amazing when they hear it. So we're going to start with Leprechaun in the Hood versus Jason X.
Wow.
First of all, we talked about the other episode about how the randomizer fucked everything up with you, Sabrina. But the randomizer got it right on this one.
It did.
Because if it's any movies that should go against each other, is these two movies.
It did. I will say,
Honestly,
the randomizer
it's
helped on this part. Otherwise, it was not very friendly to me.
No, not at all, not at all. And actually, not really, because one of these movies have to move on, so maybe it wasn't a good idea.
It helps sometimes. It helps a little bit.
Maybe it didn't help.
It helps. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
All right, we'll figure it out. Let's start off with Jason X, which is Jason 10. And this is the one where he goes to space. I'm surprised you didn't pick Leprechaun in space.
I
That
mean,
was not
The
good.
randomizer would have worked in that favor.
That is
Yeah.
true. That is true.
Would have been two space movies.
We don't need a big leprechaun hand sticking up the middle finger in space very slowly. So I'm glad we don't have to revisit that, although we just did. But let's talk about Jason X real quick. So this is the 10th movie in the franchise, right after Jason Goes to Hell. We didn't get the Freddy versus Jason that we wanted right after that. Because of the post-credit scene, we didn't get it. Instead, we got this debacle of a movie, which I gotta say, to be honest with you, it's a good time.
It is.
Like Freddy, Jason. I was rewatching a couple of them on Friday the 13th, and they're all campy goodness. Like, they're all just outrageous. Like, I seen one of the ones where Jason squeezed the guy's head, and then out of nowhere it was just like a mechanical paper mache head, like, and the eyeball just popped out with no blood. Like, it's Jason. So at least here, what I gotta say is that the kills in this movie are top notch. My favorite kill is when he grabbed the girl, put her into this whole like ice bath, whatever, just ice water, and then takes her head out. She's frozen, and then smashes it on the counter, and it just fucking erupts. Like, it was so good, so awesome. The only thing that I think is just ridiculous, we all know Jason has his iconic hockey mask. So they decided to put it upon themselves to take him through an upgrade. And the upgrade was half metal.
He's badass in that shit. What? And they were playing drowning pool? Fucking let the bodies hit the floor? You were like, oh, this shit's fucking badass. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great, the way it was shot and everything else, it was just a good fucking time, this movie. It was ridiculous. And I mean, the ending when they shot him back down and he ended in Crystal Lake, it was just like, come on, what are the odds? Like, are you fucking kidding me? But overall, like, I had a good time with it. It's a retarded ass sequel, and to the point where it's not even canon anymore. But it was a good time. Am I wrong that I kind of like this movie? Like, I don't know. I think it sucks, but I kind of like it.
It's fantastic.
Whoever wants to go.
It's fantastic. First off, let me tell you, okay, this movie. I saw this in the theater. Okay, I went to the theater to see this because I was like, we got to do this. Okay, we got to go. Jason X. He's going into space. Let the bodies hit the floor. Played in the trailer, which made you go, oh, this shit's gonna be fire. This movie is so stupid, so campy. But Mista Malave, you're correct. The kills in this movie are pretty fucking good. And that's one of the best kills when he sticks her head in that like freezing fucking like sink
water,
and then just fucking smash it. You're like, wow. Like, it was easy, quick and easy how he did that. And, you know, the acting in it is not good either. It's terrible acting in this movie. But
it's a cyborg girl.
Yes, there's a cyborg girl who fights him. She fights him, and she fights pretty well too. She's dressed up like what's her face, Mila Jovovich.
Like a fembot. Yeah.
Yes, like a fembot mixed with Mila Jovovich from fucking Resident Evil. Yeah, and she's going. But when he does with the upgrade though, okay, that I'm not gonna lie, I still remember going into like Toys R Us and Party City and seeing that costume and being like, look, that's kind of badass. Like, he's that metal fucking jacked motherfucker. Like, if he was in Mortal Kombat, it would work. All he was missing was him to talk. If he started talking, this movie would be a fucking Academy Award winning movie, because this movie this movie is a fucking joke, but it's I love it. I have so much fun watching it.
So much fun. Sabrina, what do you think about Jason X?
Oh my gosh. You guys are right. It is fun. It is so much fun. I think everyone in this movie knew exactly what they were fucking doing. They had to. there's no way any of that could have been random. Like, they had to know exactly what they were doing when making this film. It is a lot of fun. It's campy. It's dumb. And just bringing up what was the upgrade? Uber Jason?
Uber Jason.
Yeah.
Fucking Uber Jason.
Yes.
I was more. I was like,
My
that's
brain
metallic
went free.
Jason.
And
Metallic
it's Kane Hodder, who will also be at Spooky Empire.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as it being a horror film and a sequel, it's an outlier. It's such a big outlier.
It's not even canon anymore.
It's not.
It should be. It's bullshit. It should be canon. It's a well-deserved canon movie.
So
It
what?
shouldn't
Then
be,
we would have had Freddy
because
versus
no.
Jason with Metal Freddy.
That would have been
Metal
fucking
Jason.
great.
Uber Jason versus Freddy.
Fucking adamantium.
Wait, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Like, I don't. It's one of those movies that you don't have to watch any of the other Friday the 13th to watch that movie and enjoy it. You can just know of them.
Wasn't the plot like, oh, they're taking him into space because like he's came back so many times, they want to like study like how he does it, so that way they can like figure out how to live forever or some shit
They like
that.
cryogenically froze
Yeah,
him
they
so they could
cryogenically
study
freeze
him,
him.
pulling him out of Camp Crystal Lake. But I guess the Earth is uninhabitable, so they're like traveling to a different planet that they've deemed Earth 2. But why would you carry him with other people? Like,
He was frozen. No one.
Well, he
expected him to
stabbed.
defrost.
He
Oh, right.
stabbed a girl.
Right,
That's why
because
she
we
got
haven't
frozen
heard
too.
before.
Because he's stabbed for some reason. Is able to take his fucking machete and stab right through her fucking whatever the fucking
Yeah.
tank they stuck him in, and stabs her, and then she freezes to death. Well, not to death, obviously. She freezes, and then it's years and years later. But I'm sorry. I think it's fucking awesome.
it's a great
It's
movie.
so-
It's a lot of fun.
It's fucking
I
awesome.
do not count it
stupid.
as a horror sequel
Fucking great.
because it's not.
I think it was
Canon.
horror. I think
It's
it was
horror.
I
It's
think it was a
No,
horror
it's
movie.
Friday
It's a horror movie.
13th. Of course,
It's
it's
not the
horror.
horror sequel because it's not canon.
Fuck that.
In
It's
my
canon
heart, I
in my
don't count it
eyes.
as part of
I don't
the
think it's
Friday
the best
13th
sequel,
canon.
but it's definitely a horror canon. Like it's
Oh,
definitely a
no.
horror
It's
movie.
worth every penny.
It was
It's a horror
hilarious.
movie, but it's like by itself.
I walked out of that theater thinking to myself, wow, that was crazy. And I'm very excited to see it when it comes back out. And I'm pretty sure did I buy the movie? Yes, I did. I did buy the movie. So,
I bought the movie too because I was collecting everyone.
yeah, right? That's what you got to do.
definitely
That
bought-
movie's fuck
I
that.
had
That
the
movie's
DVD
great.
for sure.
That movie's great.
I remember we rented the DVD.
Oh God, that blockbuster.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
All right, let's get into Leprechaun in the Hood, another
In the Hood.
ridiculous sequel.
On the Hood.
But honestly, Ice-T's in this movie. No, anyone?
I'm sorry.
I
I'm still-
started last time. I
trying
think
to
I think
compose
Sabrina needs to
myself.
start this one.
Yes, Ice-T is in this movie. And
First of all, after Vegas,
where hasn't the Leprechaun been at this point?
he's been in the space.
Ireland.
That's what I mean. Where hasn't he been at this point?
Ireland.
Under the ocean?
He hasn't been in Ireland
Sorry.
yet.
I'm sorry. The only time, the best part is the fact that Leprechaun smokes weed.
Yes, and what about the fact that he always talks in rhyme?
That must have been a hard script to write.
Supposedly, what's his face? Who plays him again? What's the name of it's Willow.
I'll get it. Yeah.
Warwick Davis?
Warwick Davis. He loved it. He had so much fun doing it.
He's a fucking legend for all these Leprechaun movies.
For this one especially. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
this one, I mean, it gets bad. But I will say this. When it comes to the Leprechaun movies, they're not good, really. They're stupid. But
No, but they're meant to be.
they're meant to be stupid.
They're
but
meant to be good and stupid.
But let's be real for a second. It took a nosedive, like, in the fucking dirt, into hell. And then this one came out and it shot back up because people were like, yo, you got to go see Leprechaun in the Hood. Like, they took
Did it?
wow.
Was it in the theaters? I thought it was.
I don't remember. I don't think so.
To video.
I think it was,
TV movie or something.
I'm pretty sure it was direct to
Like, straight
video. Because I don't remember seeing this in the theater. I remember
Right.
seeing this in Blockbuster and shit.
I remember 1, 2, and I think 3 in Vegas was in the movies, but I think after that, no, I think maybe just 1 and 2 was in the theaters.
Yeah, I don't even know if 2 got to the theater. I know number 1 did, of course, but otherwise they weren't treated like that. It was more side.
We have Jennifer Aniston in the first.
Mm-hmm, we did. Yes, we did.
Like, to be honest, I've seen the first 2 and then 5.
Leprechaun in the Hood, right?
Yeah, of course.
I don't even know what 4 is. Yeah, the craziest thing is that like it revitalized the Leprechaun franchise because they got a Back to the Hood one.
They did do Back to the Hood, yeah.
Right.
It was just like,
they did do Back to the Hood.
Come on now.
Leprechaun in the Hood up to no good.
I feel like all right, like the Leprechaun and like it's just an outrageous take, more outrageous than them studying Jason in space. I feel like it's just, what can we do? Ice-T's like, fuck it, bro. Let's just get Leprechaun in here. And then like they just had him smoke weed and just
rap.
It turned into funny, right? It turned into like Leprechaun being hilarious instead of him being scary. Because I gotta be honest with you, the first one was kind of scary. Like I was a little scared. I was a kid, obviously, but like I was a little afraid of that little scary ass Leprechaun. Like it was.
Well, he was going after his gold. Like the whole point of him was for his gold, and in this one it was like the flute. Like he had the gold flute, and then like if you played the flute, like everybody would listen, and they were trying to be the best rap group, and they all got killed. He kills them except one of them. One of them he gets to stay. And
I just love Ice-T in this movie too.
Ice-T is such a that little motherfucker. Like he was really funny in this movie.
Little motherfucker.
He was bad. Yeah, he was a bad motherfucker in this movie. He was a pimp. He was pimp. But yeah, this movie's fucking insane.
This movie's outlandish.
It's fantastic though.
All right, let's get into the voting.
Let's do some voting.
I'm gonna start here. I'm gonna go with Jason X. Beating Leprechaun in the Hood. As much as I like Leprechaun smoking weed out of a bong, I need to give it to Jason X, and just because of the kills alone, even if it's not canon, it's still a sequel. Sabrina.
You know, I have to give it to Leprechaun in the Hood. I do.
Why?
So, as much as I love Jason X, I couldn't stop thinking of it in the franchise and how much it irked me to be in the franchise and not its own standalone movie. Where Leprechaun in the Hood had that slow, gradual creep into what it is now, and Leprechaun in the Hood as a revival just made it so pleasant. And it got everyone to go back and watch, like, the first few. Like, even if they skipped a couple, they still went back from Leprechaun in the Hood to watch the first 2 to regain what it was.
Did they, though?
Everyone I talked about Leprechaun in the Hood to said, oh, yeah, I went back and watched the first 2 because it's so different.
Yeah, it is.
I mean,
well, yeah.
I'm going to pick Leprechaun in the Hood.
All right. Well, Tommy,
so,
you get to do the first tiebreaker.
First tiebreaker here. This is so here we go, right? So we got Leprechaun in the Hood, right? And I feel like after this movie came out, it revitalized Leprechaun. Like people were like, yo, this shit's fucking insane. And they went back and watched all the other Leprechauns. But I think the same thing for Jason X. Like when that shit came out, they were like, what is this shit? Like if you didn't really know about Jason Voorhees, which was pretty rare, but if you didn't, you definitely went back and watched other Jason movies. And I feel Jason, after a while, took a huge nosedive where the first one's not even him. A lot of people forget that. It's the mother.
I love
so when I have to pick between Jason X and Leprechaun in the Hood, I'm going to have to go with Jason X because it has one of the best fucking kills out of that franchise. So I'm going with Jason X.
Nice. Good pick. Good pick, sir. Sorry, Leprechaun in the Hood. I'll smoke a bowl to you.
I smoke a little weed. Lep in the Hood up to no good. Lep in the Hood up to no good.
All right, so Jason X is moving on.
Yes, well deserved.
All right,
Leprechaun.
Well
Tommy,
deserved.
what's your next matchup?
All right, I think I'll make it a little difficult this time. Let's go with Child's Play 2 going against Evil Dead 2. Two's fucking phenoms right here. We got phenoms.
Go ahead, Tommy. Talk about it. What movie you want to start with?
Oh man, all right, let's go with Evil Dead 2. All right, let's start with Evil Dead 2. Evil Dead 2 technically, though, is considered the second one, in a way, deletes the first one, let's say. It does like a whole little revamp of it. They change the story around a little bit more. And this one just fucking goes insane. This is where shit just gets real. This is where Sam Raimi was like, we're just going to have a good old time. We're not going to treat it like it's just a regular horror movie, kind of like how the original was treated more. It was still crazy, but this one, they were like, nah, we're going to do some fucking nuts shit. We're going to have a lamp laughing and the deer laughing. And that scene is so great. I truly, this movie makes Ash Williams, okay? This movie makes fucking Bruce Campbell. And of who he is as a person till this day, I feel is mainly because of Evil Dead 2. Great gore, very funny, great death. We get Evil Ash. We get to see Evil Ash also in this one. And again, the scene where he's just losing his mind and everything's laughing at him because he fell and the chair broke is so fucking hilarious. And I would always go back to this one because a lot of people forget the original and they think this is number one, even though it's literally Evil Dead 2. The original is The Evil Dead. But because this one literally starts, it changes the whole story. It's just him and his girl, not the whole little bunch of them going to a cabin. He's the one that plays the tape and all this stuff. I personally love Evil Dead 2. I think it's just a fantastic franchise. And it's a fantastic movie. And this leads us to Army of Darkness. And that's fucking
what I was
great.
Gonna say, like, this is the one where he chops off his fucking hand and puts the damn chainsaw on his hand. And that's how the movie ends.
Well, the movie ends with him going into
hell, basically.
He goes back in time. He goes to the medieval times. That's where we get to Army of Darkness.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, it was definitely good fun. The first movie was all well and fine, but I love how they just like they revamped it in a way. It was just like, oh, like previously on kind of thing, and they just like changed everything, which I still am curious on why they did it, but I'm happy that they did it. And yeah, it's such a good ass time, and it's so eerie and creepy, right? In all the Evil Dead aura, right? I guess we're spoiled now because the new ones are kind of like more gory and still kind of like creepy, but you get the laugh still. And that's what I feel like what makes these movies so good. And the second one per se, like, it's such a great standalone one because you don't have to see the first one, right?
No, you don't.
To this one.
It's true, you don't.
And they kind of like took that from, and again, I was watching the old Friday the 13th movies on Friday the 13th, and the second and third one they kind of like catch you up with what happened previously, and then they lead into the new one, right? So this one kind of did it, but it kind of fixed all the problems that it had to fix, with the first one, and then gives you the second one, and then kind of like just makes it the cult classic that it really is. And I think it's really great. I think it's a really, really good movie. There's not a lot of kills. It's more psychological than anything when it comes to Ash. I mean, because in the first one we get a bunch of his friends dying and everything else. This one, it's more of just him going nuts. The book is just gravitating towards him. So we don't get a lot of kills, which it's okay. But it's a different kind of scary, and that's what I loved about Evil Dead. It kind of like plays with your mind and it makes you go crazy to the point where you fucking kill yourself or do something else.
It's almost a psychological thriller.
Right. With all the campy horror that we love.
Insane shit.
Yeah, for sure.
It's insane.
Sabrina, you have anything with Evil Dead 2?
I love Evil Dead. It's up there with me for Friday the 13th as like my favorite franchise. But Evil Dead 2 was interesting in it's exactly what Tommy said, is it made Ash. If you didn't have Evil Dead 2, it's hard to get to Army of Darkness. Like if you were just to have the first Evil Dead movie and then Army of Darkness, none of it would make sense. It wouldn't correlate. So the fact that they could take a sequel and revamp the first one to spark a new franchise is incredible to me. I have all the love for Evil Dead 2. Evil Dead in general, but Evil Dead 2 specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. A good ass sequel.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about Child's Play 2 now. This is the Child's Play where we get Andy. He's in a foster home, and Chucky finds him. But what's so great about this movie, right? And I've seen it so many times. It's the fact that like we get the charcoal Chucky, and they get them all like in the beginning. They find the doll, and why are they remaking the doll? Like that's the only thing. When the movie starts and they scrape off all the burnt stuff, and then they like get the metal face again, and then they spraying him up, and like it's like why you have a like a franchise of these dolls, like why are you gonna just throw the doll away? Like, you know what I mean? But no, they remake the doll, and then we get some of the best stuff that I've seen. I feel like this is probably one of the best sequels in the franchise. Because it brings you to the factory as well. It has Andy in it. Some of the great kills, like with the mom and the sewing machine, so dope.
Yep.
You know what I mean? We get the climactic scene at the end when they're in the factory, which I think is amazing. Especially when they put him into like this microwave, and he comes out with all putty, and he's like dragging his foot, and he still just keep going at him. Like, I just think, like, with Chucky, you shouldn't take it so seriously, right? But then also the kills are insane. Like, you got this little guy, he's going around just massacring like people in really creative ways, and I feel like this one is probably the best sequel out of all of them. And I'm the person that loves Bride of Chucky, so it's saying a lot. I didn't like part 3 a lot, just because of like Andy's an adult and he's in the army and all that other craziness with the other kid that he's trying to hold up. It was just too much. They try to do too much in this. This one was just like, you know what? Let's bring Chucky back, and let's just go after him to try to finish the job. You know what I mean? And he almost succeeded. And I thought it was phenomenal. I thought it was a great follow-up to the original. Even the stupidness of them fixing the doll, because I guess they had to. He couldn't just possess another doll, right? Like, they had to get the same Chucky doll. So
the same OG doll.
It worked.
Yep.
Yeah. Sabrina.
I do think it's silly the reason that they brought back Chucky. It was like the original doll. They, like what you said, they couldn't just scrap him and get another one. It's mass produced. They had to get that one specifically to like prove to everyone, oh, there's nothing wrong with this one in general. And it's like, that's dumb. But if they didn't, it wouldn't bring back what we have is a really good sequel.
We needed Charles Lee Ray to possess another doll, and he can't do that without the original one.
Right.
He can't conjure it again, in a different doll.
So it did give us a really great sequel to Chucky. I enjoyed this one a lot. And again, it sparks more for the franchise, and I am a huge fan of Bride of Chucky. I feel like it all came from Child's Play 2. Like, Child's Play 1 was great, but again, the kind of demented, fucked up side of just the original doll coming back and having all this damage to it, and essentially melting into putty and still trying to get at Andy. It's almost a mission at that point.
Friend to the end, baby.
I love Child's Play 2.
They're friend to the end.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, it even holds up with all these other requels that are out right now. You know what I mean? It still holds up very well. Very, very well. I love this movie.
Yeah.
Tommy, what do you think about Child's Play 2?
I love the ending of this movie. I think the ending is so scary. Anybody would be afraid in the ending of this movie. Besides the fact that the foster home, we get Kyle in this one, so we get to see who Kyle is, and she's fantastic, and she's a legacy character now, and even in the television show. I haven't started season 2 yet, so no spoilers. I don't know if she's technically dead yet. I got to catch up. But regardless, we get the best Chucky in this movie. Okay, in the original Child's Play, it's great. It's fine. But this one, they opened up the box and they said, okay, we're going to have some fucking fun here. We're going to let this motherfucker go crazy. And he goes crazy. And Brad Dourif is just fantastic as the voice. The movie itself just works. It works, and it was going to spawn, obviously, more movies. But like I said, the ending of that reminded me of the original Terminator movie. You know, with the chasing between everything and getting caught in stuff, and, you know, fucking arms are popping out and people they're trying to grab you, and he's figuring out more that he could do while being the doll. And I really enjoy that about the whole point of what Child's Play became. It's just a phenomenal, perfect sequel to a classic movie. And again, the ending, that itself could be a haunted house. And would be fucking crazy.
Act 3 itself.
Yeah. Act 3 is its own haunted house. So it's fantastic.
Yeah. And it has one of the best lines, I feel, when the stepdad or the foster dad throws him down the stairs in the cellar. And he's like, he looks at his nose and it's bleeding. He's like, fuck, I'm turning human again. Love that scene. I love that line. All right, let's time to vote. Ace, I'm gonna start with you. Who you going with? Who you got?
This is such a tough decision because both of them are crucial in their own franchises. I gotta give it to Evil Dead 2.
All right, Evil Dead 2. Okay, any particular reason?
It's one of those things that it's just stuck with me forever. And as much as I love Child's Play 2, like Evil Dead 2 kicks off the rest of the franchise. It holds such an important part for Army of Darkness to come later that Evil Dead 2 is my win.
It's a good point. This one's particularly tough for me because I love Child's Play 2 so much. Like, that is my favorite one out of the whole entire franchise. So it holds like I'm a little biased there, right? But with the arguments of Evil Dead 2 and how iconic it is, we wouldn't have all of Ash and Army of Darkness and everything else that we love so much without this sequel, you know? And I feel like I feel like it needs to move on because without Child's Play 2, I feel like they still could have had the other sequels. You understand what I'm talking about? So for that alone, I feel like Evil Dead 2 needs to move on.
Okay. Evil Dead 2, moving on. Good one.
Who would you ever went with?
Evil Dead 2.
Tommy? Evil Dead 2, right?
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
Okay, cool. I'm glad we're on the same page.
Yeah, we're on the same page. We're doing pretty good right now.
So does that mean that Evil Dead 2 gets a second round?
All around.
Hey, good job, everyone.
All right. Now, we're going to stick in the same conference right now. We're going to go with...
Your conference.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to stick in my conference. But in that same level of the conference... we're going to do The Conjuring 2 going against Scream 2.
Oh, my God.
So we're going to do this, right? This one I think is going to be a little interesting.
What are we talking first?
Let's talk Scream 2.
Scream 2. They go to college. God damn, this movie's good. So we get what makes Scream so well is that it knows what it is and it takes you a part of it, right? Like it breaks down everything. I feel like some of the best thing that we got in that movie was after like when Randy's talking about sequels and they've mentioned in that whole talk, and I feel like it was right in like 10 minutes into the movie where they had that talk and they were talking about sequels and what makes them good, and not all sequels suck. Right, and it was kind of like foreshadowing how this movie does not suck, right? And they mentioned aliens, and they mentioned the "stay away from her, you bitch." And I believe the line is, what was it when he was just like, "Get away from her, you stay away from her, you bitch." I believe the line is "Get away from her, you bitch," but whatever, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I feel like it's so like, I don't want to say this because it's so 90, but like hip, like it was so hip, cool, and like, but also like insane. Like the way Randy dies in the van, like Jesus, you know what I mean? Like This movie's so good, and then it's the classic who done it, and you just never. You kind of was just like, don't do the same thing again. Don't let it be the same killer again. And then like, it happens to not be the boyfriend, and then the ending scene with the theater was so good. And there's so much, and it's like, it's Laurie Strode. It's fucking Billy's mom. That's also the mastermind.
Yes.
It was just they found a way to one up Scream One with the bringing back another character that means something, not just a random person killing, and I feel like that's what helped it, and it was just so well written. I know I was babbling for a little bit there, but there was so much to say, and I didn't know how to categorize it,
You get.
But anyway,
it makes sense though. This movie, I will say, is the movie that proved that not everyone is safe. Right. Once they killed Jamie Kennedy's character, you were like, wait, what? Why would they do that? Like that's
him and Dewey almost just dies.
Dewey's almost like in every movie is about to die until obviously the one before he dies. But this movie, I mean, I like the character of Mickey. I think Timothy Olyphant is fantastic. His motive makes sense because a lot of their motives usually don't make sense. Like to look at Billy's mom and feel she got away with most of this shit. You're like, you're from Roseanne. I don't see this. I don't see her pulling off all these kills, even though she makes Mickey do most of the work. But his motive behind it made fucking sense of why he was doing it. And again, a great actor playing that role. He's a psychopath. It just worked. And the best part is the red herring, which is Jerry O'Connell's character, where you're almost certain that it's fucking him, and it's Mickey. Oh, and then just to throw it out even better, because they have that one scene where he's saying that there's a partner, and then Courtney Cox walks out, and you're like, get the fuck out.
Shit.
And you're like, it's the reporter. Oh no, it's Billy's mom. I feel that Billy's mom is a little bit of a stretch. Like you had to stretch out that much, but you could take for what it is though. It's still a great fucking time. And Scream and the beginning is fucking Jada Pinkett Smith.
Oh yeah.
Fucking just getting stabbed while the fucking movie was going on and screaming, and that's iconic right there. That's an iconic scene right there. So Scream 2 is a great time.
It was the epitome of life imitating art, imitating life.
Sure, that makes sense.
That was how it all started, and that was. I love the fact that they were watching the first movie while all of that was going on, and it's just that's what makes Scream so great. I mean, at least the first three, is just the fact that they knew exactly what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they knew exactly what to do to keep us on our toes, but also to know that you don't have to take it that serious either,
Yeah.
You took the words right out of my mouth when you said they knew exactly what to do. I was going to say they've been so consistent with it just in the first three, and after the first movie, it's like they knew immediately what they wanted the second movie to be and how to play it out, and they did a phenomenal job of that.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was amazing, to the point where even 3 was kind of great in Hollywood. But we're not talking about 3, we're talking about 2.
That's right.
All right, let's go to The Conjuring 2.
Conjuring 2.
And same thing, kind of like what we said in Scream 2. They knew exactly what they were doing, right? To the point where the first one was so good as far as a haunted house that they just one-upped each other, and they just had more kids. And I always say it, the movie The Conjuring needs those kids, because the kids put the fear in our hearts, and they just took all the, you talking about the demon on top of the dresser. Oh my God. They just wound up everybody with the damn nun coming out of the damn picture, which was crazy, you know what I mean? And it still just haunts my dreams, you know what I mean? It was so good, and every single moment just had you on edge, because even if it was blurred out in the background, you'll see that there was something there, you know what I mean? So it just keeps you on your toes, and while you're watching it, you're uncomfortable, right? Because you don't know what's gonna happen next, and there was false jump scares, and then it just leads you into even bigger scary shit. You know what I mean? I felt I I'm one of them that feels like this one was better than the first one, and that's rare because sequels are never and hardly ever better than the first ones.
Yeah.
And this one takes the cake.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I really like this one. This one, it sets up for the technically, like I like to say, the big baddie, the Thanos of the Conjuring universe, which is Valak. And I have to agree. I think the second one is much better than the first. Though, you know, every little story they do is technically based on a true story. This one, they have like actual footage of what happened when they were there. There's a documentary coming out on Apple Plus of the family for what this is about. Very excited to watch that as well. I don't think the Warrens are involved in it because, you know, a lot of them, they were like hoax and a lot of shit they were saying about them. Yeah. But the acting in this is just, Vera Farmiga is just top tier notch in this one. And honestly, I didn't get scared in this one. I am a little jumpy, but nothing beats out a Bathsheba. No, nothing can take her reign of scaring me. But like I said, this movie, I feel like it really sets up to where we're getting, which is The Conjuring 4, The Last Rites, which obviously is just the Avengers Endgame, where everybody comes back to defeat Valak. And they, like I said, you set up a fucking major villain. You set up a very, I don't personally find her that scary, but that's just me, probably because of her movies. So I feel we're getting somewhere far with this. And to me, this movie's just, it's fucking good. Everything about it is good. I love the story that's about it. The fact that you think it's the old man, but it turns out, nope, it was Valak the entire time. Yeah, like, all for it. All for this movie. It's just good. It's a great sequel.
I feel like they still use the audio recordings from them too in like a bunch of other stuff, not just the movie. But in like certain videos you'll see of like actual possession movies, they always refer back to this story. So this story takes a lot of precedence over the first movie. Yes, Bathsheba was absolutely terrifying.
Scared.
But like, just again, Valak, I still hear in the back of my head whenever somebody brings up this movie of the little girl in the chair screaming, like, kind of graggly voice saying, "This is Bill Wilson," or whatever, and it's like, it never was. It was always Valak.
It was Valak.
So it was a great introduction to the rest of the franchise for this major villain.
Yeah, no, definitely. Again, when she's popping out of the damn picture,
Oh,
scary
yeah.
shit. Just scary shit.
Great jump scare.
You know what I mean?
And this was still James Wan.
Yeah.
James Wan was still at the
Yep.
helm
James
at this
Wan
point.
knows horror.
It
He
wasn't
does.
until after this that
He stopped.
You know, Annabelle and the Nun one was just Jesus. Did we have a bad? I think it was in the best and the worst of one of the years in second rounds that
I think it might have been.
I think I devoured that movie as far as like the worst shit I've ever seen. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about The Conjuring 2, which is a badass fucking movie.
Time to vote.
It's time to vote. This one's a hard one, but I'll go first. As much as I am a huge Scream fan, I feel like The Conjuring 2 is a better sequel because when you're starting to talk about it being the better than the first, then it's fucking insane. All right. And like you said, it opened up the universe to what we're eventually getting. So yeah, I gotta go with Conjuring 2.
All right.
Well, I have to agree with you on The Conjuring 2. I love Scream and Scream 2. However, I feel like it could flow into one giant cohesive piece, which is great for a sequel. But I think The Conjuring definitely set up a little bit more. So Conjuring 2.
Conjuring 2. Tommy, who would you have gone with?
That's a tough one. That's a tough question. I think I would have had to go with The Conjuring 2 as well. I feel that it makes sense. It's a fucking nasty sequel. It could have been the first one and you would have still been like, yep, I'm all on board for this shit. Sets up for a major villain that gets 2 fucking movies afterwards. You know, Annabelle becomes a fucking just, she's in the dust. She's in the dirt. So, yeah, no, definitely Conjuring 2.
Yeah, well, you know what that means? That means Conjuring 2 gets a second round.
All around.
All around.
Very good, very good. That means we're moving on to the final matchup, which, funny enough, we're saying about the final matchup. We're talking about Final Destination 2 going against a personal favorite because I wasn't sure if I should pick it, but I had to pick it. Blade 2.
Ooh,
It's a vampire movie. It is horror, indeed.
There's so many people in this movie.
There's a lot of people in all of these movies. And a lot of death. Lots of death.
Definitely a lot of death. We're talking about Blade 2. He has to team up with the vampires to take on the Lycan, which is basically the werewolves that are just like mutated fucks that are just trying to kill everybody.
Yeah.
I thought this movie was pretty great. I thought it was fun. Again, like Wesley Snipes and Blade, kind of like if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have the MCU. So like I could just kind of want to say thank you to them. And their sequels weren't that bad until we got Triple H with metal fangs.
Yes, and a puppy.
We're not talking about 3. We're talking about 2.
Yeah, you like to talk about the third movies a lot.
I know because they're all outrageous. But we got Norman Reedus in there. So we have Donnie Yen. Believe
he
it,
is
in this movie too.
He is.
Ron Perlman. He's in this. It's a good movie. I gotta be honest with you. I don't know what else to say about this movie, so I'm gonna open it up to the peanut gallery. Okay?
Let's hear what Ace has to say about Blade 2.
It's been a while since I've seen it.
I was just about to say, it's been quite a bit since I've seen Blade 2. Like, I remember seeing Blade 1 maybe... Like, the most recent time I've seen it was maybe like 2 years ago. I rewatched Blade 1. I have not seen Blade 2 for quite some time. However, I do remember the Reaper.
Yep.
And to me, that was terrifying. Because now not only do you have humans fearing vampires, you have vampires fearing a vampire. And that is something that was different from every other vampire movie out there. Like, you had Blade 2. And it wasn't something of like old school horror of where, you know, it's just a human and vampires and that's who you're up against. You're up against a whole new evil.
Yeah, it was like a mutated vampire.
Yeah.
Like race.
So I thought it was really well done that they introduced a different type of scare to it, a different villain. And of course, Blade still has to defeat it. So it was different. I liked it because it was different. It wasn't just like every other vampire movie. And it wasn't like the first Blade. And I love the first Blade. So I like it because it was different. I can't really say too much more about it because I haven't seen it in forever, but it was good.
But you're missing out. Yeah, I just recently watched it. I did number 1 and I did number 2. And the second one's just a fucking so much fun, you know, more nightclubs and more kills and Blade just being just a dick all the time. A lot of jokes in this one too. Him and Ron Perlman going back and forth. I love when he sticks the thing on the back of his head because Ron Perlman trying to be a douchebag to him and he fucking grabs him, sticks it in the back of his head and he goes, listen, you look at me wrong and I'm fucking pressing this button. And you're fucking gone. And then he's sitting there as Blade's just standing there looking around the club and he has like the laser pointer on him like he's getting ready to shoot him. And then it turns out Blade had one attached to his hip that was already pointing at him right at his heart. And then he looks and he smiles and he gives him a thumbs up. This one is just it's just a whole lot of fun. They had so much. I know I didn't see the first one in theater. But this one I went to the theater to see. And a lot of people always say that Blade 2 is just much better than the original one because they open it up, they have more fun, and it gets fucking wild. And I have to agree, this one just goes absolutely bonkers. And in something like a superhero-like movie with vampires, you got to go bonkers. And this movie is just so much fun. And Wesley Snipes is Blade. It is what it is.
Yeah.
There is no other.
Not yet.
Not
there
yet.
will be.
I've seen
in
stills
my
and
heart
stuff
still.
of the new one, and he looks fine. But for us, I feel like, there's no other person. That's Blade.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? To the point where even What We Do in the Shadows, he makes a little appearance.
Yes.
Yes.
He as the Daywalker. They can't say Blade, so they call him the Daywalker.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. I love it. He's on Zoom.
Yeah,
He was on Zoom.
So good, so good. Yeah, it's a really good time. It's just outlandish, more kills, more blood,
Mhm.
and that's what we want, and more guns and different weapons.
Lots of
because
guns.
That's something also that I loved about Blade is that they always had like crazy cool weapons to kill the vampires. You know, when it comes to like whether it's a UV light that they're shining on them in the first one, or like these darts that shoot out garlic that make the heads blow up. Like it's just more of those clever ways of killing vampires and these creatures, which I personally loved.
Yeah. Let's go on to
Now
Final
let's
Destination
get
2.
to Final Destination 2. The reason why I change lanes in the highway when I see any kind of logs or anything else that's strapped up is because of this damn movie. All right.
It
And
sticks with you.
I've always been a big fan of Final Destination, and when I saw the first one, it kind of changed my life, which is why when we started Night School Horror, I put Death as one of my favorite villains, because you can't outrun Death. And as we see in the second one, it always comes full circle, right? Especially like these deaths always come like so like crazy enough. Like you're like, all right, you're gonna get it next, but how are you gonna get it is the thing. Right, and this is the one that kind of like one-upped it, right? Because in the first one, we got Sean William Scott, and then he was like, "I told you were next," and then out of nowhere, that metal shard just kind of cuts his head off. We get so many more of those in this movie, right? We get even in the end when he blows up the fucking firecracker and just blows him up, like, and then that's how the movie ends. Like, it's so good the way that like they knew exactly what to do and what we loved about the first one, and they gave it to us with even more of damn, this can happen in an everyday situation. You know, and I love these kills so very much. I love Final Destination 2 so much.
Yeah, they stepped their game up with this one. They stepped their game up right off the bat. They I agree 1,000%. You know, this movie, when you see, the logs and you go, nope, not doing it. Nope. This movie makes you fear the road. Okay. And that's one thing I love about Final Destination is that they always find something to, how it starts, a plane, the road. I don't really feel the NASCAR one, but whatever. The bridge, the roller coaster, like that's pretty good. Like, good job on that one, guys. This one really gets anybody that drives on a highway and sees the logs automatically go Final Destination 2. I'm getting the fuck off on the next exit, or I got to get past this thing. And it's just, it is gory. It is nuts. People getting fucking shredded. It's a beauty.
What I love the most about it is that like we see everyone die in the first 20 minutes.
As always, yeah.
Crazy different ways, right? Because in the first one, we just saw them all blow up, right? And then everyone just like kind of got burnt. This one, we see every single one of the main characters like die in a unique way, and then we get to see them die again. Like when those logs with the metal wiring were coming at the Oakhead or whoever the guy is, and he just like rips him to shreds. Love it. Like, insane kills. Like, they really just one-upped each other.
I think one thing that I also too love about this movie is there's a double. Like, Death gets 2 points at one point. Yep. It's usually 1 by 1, but Death was like, Ali Lauder's coming and we're going to kill her at the same time we kill that other black guy. And when it just exploded. And it's like, yeah, 2 points, motherfucker. That's two bodies at once, killing 2 birds at one stone. And that was the Death. He stepped his game up, or she. We don't know. We don't know who it is. If it's a girl or guy.
Kill. And honestly, none of those deaths are unrealistic either.
No, because they can all happen.
Even the smallest of things, it could happen in real life. All of that is realistic.
Yep.
Yeah, like the guy who won the lottery, and then like his apartment caught on fire, and he leaves the fire escape. Right, but then you never knew that him slipping on the damn spaghetti was going to be the catalyst to him getting this fire escape just thrown right into his damn head.
Yep.
Like,
right.
So cleverly written. Like, I just thought it was so good, and a lot more cleverly written than I feel like they wound up their game from the first one.
Yeah, 1,000%.
They absolutely did. Every little thing in that movie mattered.
Yes.
It wasn't just like, oh, one thing leads to another, eventually you're going to get it. It's every little detail in that movie mattered.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and it came full circle with the long survivor of the first one.
But they killed
know what I
Ali
mean?
Larter. Right. That was fantastic.
I thought
What's her name? It was real annoying. Clear
Claire.
River?
Claire Rivers.
Yeah, something like that.
Something.
Claire.
She died.
Put
Though.
herself in like the padded room.
Yeah.
And then the minute she comes out,
She checked
I
herself
love
in.
the fact that she died. Like, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
She had to.
Like, he just went back. She's like, oh wait, you're a loose end. Let me
Well, I'm
kill you.
saying he killed two birds with one stone. He got her and the dude at the same time.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a great fucking. That's how you do it.
That's how you do it. And then, oh my God, the kid playing with the birds, and then he gets squished with the glass. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
Yep,
You
fantastic.
thought he was gonna get it when he was in the dentist first. Like
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
the
Mhm, they got you
misdirection
good.
That was so clever in these movies, which again, as sequels progressed, they got less and less clever. But like these first ones,
Yeah,
all right, let's vote.
let's do vote.
Let's vote. Sabrina, go ahead.
Final Destination 2.
Absolutely, that
A
is the
lot of
correct
those
answer.
a lot of those scenes still stick with me than Blade 2. As much as I love Blade and what I remember of Blade 2, Final Destination has it for me.
I agree with you 100%. Final Destination 2 is the better sequel here. As much fun as Blade 2 is, and as great as it is for the franchise and what it did for MCU and everything, what have you, the better horror sequel here is Final Destination 2, hands down.
All right, that's it.
Tommy, what do you think?
Yeah, der.
Yeah, sure.
No, der. Not even sure. Yeah, der. Makes sense.
Yeah. Do you want to change it at all?
I'm good. Let's go. Final Destination 2 is moving on, and Final Destination 2's got a doozy of a matchup on the next round. So very excited.
All right.
Very
it
excited.
really does. But we are done with the first round, and it was a doozy with no overrides.
No.
And now it is time for the second round. So cheers to the second round.
Cheers to the second round.
Second round.
And cheers to the messenger.
To the messenger.
To the messenger.
All right.
All right. It feels good to cheers to the messenger. I miss
Because
it.
sometimes we always forget about him, and he's waiting for us sometimes. It's good to acknowledge.
Sometimes, all the time. All right, buddy. Pick your first matchup of the second
God,
round.
we're starting off fucking strong right now. We're going with Final Destination 2 goes against the fucking top tier number one in seed, Jason X.
Jesus.
All right, I'll go first. Let's just be real here, guys. I mean, as much fun as Jason X was and is, and I love to watch me some Jason X, no matter how ridiculous it is. Because of the kills, the movie that it's going up against has even better kills than Jason X. So for that reason, and it being the best sequel in the franchise, I am going with Final Destination 2.
Okay?
Sabrina.
Matt, I'm going to have to agree with you. Again, Jason X is a fun movie. Real fun movie. I still... as far as sequels go, Final Destination has it.
There he goes. Final Destination 2 is moving on to the finals. Tommy, who would you have gone with?
Jason X.
Okay.
No, of course.
All
I
right,
went
so Final Destination doesn't get a second round all around. But at least Jason X gets it.
I give it its props that it's truly deserved. Final Destination 2 totally is the correct answer, but Jason X deserves itself a vote because of him becoming Uber Jason, so that's great.
Yeah, of course.
It's fantastic.
All right, the last matchup of the second round is a doozy.
Conjuring 2 versus Evil Dead 2. Let's let Sabrina start.
This
Yeah, go
one,
ahead.
this one's hard for me, you guys. This one's really hard for me because The Conjuring 2 had such a darker storyline. Like there was more sinister aspects to it. It's paranormal, whereas Evil Dead 2 is psychological horror and it plays off of oneself. It is so hard to pick, but I think out of scare factors, I have to pick Conjuring 2.
Conjuring
As
2.
much as I love Evil Dead 2 and I would love to see it progress, I have to pick Conjuring 2.
You said it perfectly, right? Like you were like, Evil Dead 2 is psychological. And with Conjuring 2, it was more of like spiritual, right? But I also believe that it was psychological as well too, because and not only that, they're very similar in the fact that like no one really like there's not a lot of deaths in either of those movies.
No.
You know what I mean? I don't think anyone died in the Conjuring 2 at all. You know,
No.
Because even the mother was on the brink of death, but she overcame it and got the exorcist and all that other stuff and what have you. Yeah, no, I this is tough because they're both catalysts to their franchise, right? They're both like huge milestones in the franchise to where they are today, which makes it even harder. But as far as like horror sequels is concerned, I gotta give it up to the scarier of the two. And maybe it's because we are spoiled and we weren't in that time when it came out with Evil Dead, but I think Conjuring 2 is the scarier movie. And as far as scary horror sequels is concerned, I feel like the better one here is the Conjuring 2. Yeah. So the
Got a
Conjuring
lot of
2
love
is
for
moving
Evil
up.
Dead though, but like
I hate to see it
Yeah.
go. I really do.
I do too.
I really hate to see it go. Maybe if it was going up against, I don't even know. I really don't know.
Jason X.
Jason X.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, Conjuring 2 is going to the finals. Tommy, who would you have went with?
I don't know, actually. To be honest, I'm glad I don't have to vote because I don't really know. I look at it in both sense of both of these movies could also be a number one. You know what I mean? Like The Conjuring 2 could have been the original. Evil Dead 2 technically was an original because it scrapped how the first one was. So it's a tough one. I feel that if we are going to go based on the horror, the scares, The Conjuring 2 is fierce. That is a fierce competitor, okay? Again, we bring up the Thanos of the Conjuring universe, and she's waiting, okay? And this movie is leading towards her, okay? This is the Captain America, okay, of the Avengers film. Because we started with Iron Man.
Enough.
But it is, though. It is. It brought up, this is where shit's going down. We're going to get all the Avengers from the Conjuring universe to show back up. All the bad guys are going to show back up in Let's Right. So it means we're going to see Bathsheba again. Maybe she'll join them and try to help defeat Valak. I don't think so. But The Conjuring 2 is it's just fierce. It's an all-around set movie. It made so much fucking money. I think it was made the most money, if I'm not mistaken, for horror until I believe It 2 came out, or It came out. That if I'm not mistaken is now the most money for horror. So yeah, I guess I would have to lean more towards The Conjuring 2. Evil Dead 2 is just classic, and if you haven't seen it, you don't know it, and The Conjuring 2, you know it, you've heard of it, you probably most likely have seen it. So yeah, Conjuring 2.
Yeah.
It's final time.
The finals, baby.
The finals. We got The Conjuring 2.
We have a doozy of a finals, too.
Conjuring 2 and Final Destination 2. Real life versus paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
Ouch.
Oh,
hurts my soul.
I don't want to start this.
All right, good. Sabrina's going to have to start it then.
You want to say some peace before we start there,
Yeah,
Tommy?
all right. I guess,
Tommy
yeah.
needs to give
All right. I mean, I could try. What's the most I can truly say here? I've said enough. I think the fact that it's paranormal, it's based on a true story, quote unquote, based on a true story, versus what can happen, what probably has happened, and you're facing what eventually will, something will come from this. A lot of death obviously occurs in this movie. Like you said in The Conjuring 2, I don't believe anybody dies if I'm not mistaken. And that I feel makes it scarier. Because it's more of not just the fact that there's death. Because at least in Final Destination 2, you sit back and you think, all right, well, they're going to die, and they're going to die in some awesome ways. It's like Saw. You're like, oh, I want to see how they're going to kill somebody. And then The Conjuring is where it creeps in the bones. It creeps behind you. That's why I said it's fierce. It's a fierce competitor. It comes in. It brings us to a universe that is still, till this day, continuing. Just everything else sucks. Final Destination 2, I think, is the same thing. It continues us to move on with the universe, but this is probably the best one in the franchise, besides the first. we can honestly say The Conjuring 2 is better than the original. So, I don't know. It's a tough one. It depends, what tickles your pickle, but let's hear what you got.
Yeah, that didn't make it any easier. So, again, it goes to show like how strong these movies are standalone versus how strong they are in their franchise too. With Final Destination, it was such a great sequel that led into from the first one. That gave us a decent third, and then went off the rails with 4, 5, and 6, where it's just cut and repeat, almost like the slasher films of Freddy and stuff after like 4. You know what I mean? Where it's just like nothing kind of makes sense. Let's just keep killing people in cool ways, you know? Which, I'm so grateful that we've got the second one, which still had the cohesive story, had a legacy character from the first one come back, and then come full circle and complete that story, and also jump starting the other one and continuing on from there, right? When it goes to like The Conjuring 2, it gives us the big baddie, like we've been saying, that's gonna hopefully get a huge payoff with the Conjuring Avengers. We can only hope, right? But I just feel like, as far as storytelling is concerned, and slow burns mixed with uneasiness, and because they both got, like I said, with the spaghetti and stuff, not knowing it was the catalyst to like them breaking, it was so clever, right? But I feel like the underlining aspect of The Conjuring kind of being based on actual events, or like relative or somewhat, and having the original like footage somehow, and like just everything in itself, like as a complete story, you were invested, right? And invested hard. Whether in the other one you were kind of just like, holy shit, how is this person gonna die, and like kind of getting scared for my life now for the rest of the time. This is hard, which is why I keep talking. But ultimately here, guys, I'm going with the better movie, and the better movie here is The Conjuring 2.
All right.
Yeah. This is very difficult. And listening to both your accounts didn't help me any. But it's... In both these movies, it is the fear of the unknown, as Matt has mentioned too. It's the fear of not knowing anything of what you're up against, because you never know how you're going to die in Final Destination or Final Destination 2. It could be anything. Again, slipping on spaghetti is a problem. In The Conjuring 2, you don't know what you're up against, because even if you know which spirit, you don't know how to defeat them yet, because they're still world building and setting that up. So it is very difficult for the two. But I think ultimately it's death comes for us all, no matter which form. So you can either do things to prevent and take care of yourself to live longer, but there's no guarantee to live longer against an unknown entity, the big baddie. So I also have to give it to The Conjuring 2.
Conjuring 2. Conjuring 2 beats Final Destination 2 by a small margin.
Wow.
That is that was tougher than I thought.
It was
but
so
that
tough.
means that Tommy is taking The Conjuring 2 to Spooky Empire to go against Nightmare on Elm Street 3. How do you feel, Tommy?
It's tough, man. This is whatever I was taking, unless it was Jason X, would be able to take down Elm Street 3 with no problem. Jason X, hands down, takes down Elm Street 3. But it's tough. Yeah, like I said,
our own little Freddy versus Jason.
It would have been. But you said you don't even like it, so we have to toss the movie out, and it lost.
I love Kane Hodder. I don't like Jason X.
Well, I will tell Kane Hodder what you think about his Jason X, and that
if I win this contest, I'll tell him.
That's true, right? That's very, very true. I think it makes sense. I think this works to have Freddy Krueger versus Valak in the long run. The Conjuring 2 is a movie a lot of people are talking. They speak about. They say it's one of the top horror movies out there. So I'm very interested in seeing what the crowd is going to say, because now this is where it gets bad. Okay, this is where everything usually turns bad for me, because I'm going to go there and I'm going to be like, yo, I got a heavy hitter. It's Conjuring 2. Like, this is a top movie right here. A lot of people say it's the best in the entire franchise. And people are going to be like, yeah, but it's not Freddy Krueger. And I'm going to be like, well, it's Valak. And they're going to be like, have you seen the Nun movies? And I'm going to be like, it's nothing to do with the Nun movies. Let's talk about Conjuring 2. And you were scared of Valak when you watched Conjuring 2. And they're going to say, no, have you seen Freddy Krueger there? And he's here and he's right there. And then I'm going to be like,
all right. I'm going to stop you, man. You're going in rants and you might lose your mind. Okay, so
have you seen Freddy Krueger? He's right there. He's just standing right there over there. He's right there. Dude. I'll interview somebody, and they're gonna be like, "Look, this is my friend. This is my friend Jim, and he's dressed up like Freddy Krueger. And who are you picking him? No, I'm not asking Jim. I'm asking you. Well, Jim's picking Freddy Krueger, so I'm gonna go with Nightmare on Elm Street. It's gonna happen.
So I understand. This is the hard part because it doesn't matter what our opinions are about either of these two movies.
Yep.
It's out of our hands.
Yep.
It's up to the crowd.
That's right.
Yep.
And
That
the
is
crowd,
exactly
again,
true.
is what we fear because it's an unpredictable force.
Correct.
Yep. And that's what makes the Who You Got challenge the best, right? Because our part is over, people. We know the movies that are going to Spooky Empire. We know that Sabrina Ace is has Nightmare on Elm Street 3 into Spooky Empire, right? And we know that the Smooth Effect himself has The Conjuring 2, and they're going head to head, and it's up to you to decide who is going to face me, the longest reigning Who You Got champion, for this beautiful championship belt that we are going to battle up against. But again, the crowd is the X factor. Because if you have listened, you know who has the movies. But if you haven't, then you don't. Then it's all about the opinion and not who you like. So I got to be honest with you. This is tough. I don't even know who I would pick. You know what? I'm going to choose right now. And my vote doesn't count. So I think the battle between the best horror sequels has to go to